We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Look back on your life and recall all the horrible things you thought were going to happen. Now ask yourself, how many of those things actually did happen? Unless you have really bad luck, my guess is that very few of those horrible things you thought were going to happen ever actually came to pass. We humans have a bad habit of making things harder than they need to be by expecting the worst. Maybe it's our evolutionary programming that keeps us on the lookout for threats and lurking dangers. But, truth be told, we're horrible predictors of the future. Why? Our vision is clouded by emotion, mostly fear. Fear strips away our objectivity and makes us assume the worst, even though the worst rarely happens. If we were more scientific about it, we would collect the data and see that more often than not, our predictions about the future never come to pass. We would have a much more optimistic, or at least objective, view of the future. But unfortunately, when it comes to predicting the future, we are very unscientific. We keep imaging the worst, despite what the data keeps telling us. And when we do this, we get anxious, we get nervous, we get fearful, we suffer. Actually, we double down on our suffering. We suffer in two ways. We suffer unnecessarily. When we imagine how bad things will be, we suffer before we need to. In essence, we waste our suffering. But, as said earlier, things usually don't turn out the way they imagine they will. So all that worry and anxiety about future events is just unnecessary suffering. We suffer in advance. We prolong our suffering. We suffer before we need to. Even if the worst did come to pass, why make yourself suffer twice? Life will present us with plenty of legitimate reasons to be sad, anxious, or upset. Why not wait until they actually happen to start suffering over them? The Stoics remind us that most of our suffering happens in our imagination, not in reality. And Seneca isn't alone in reminding us of this. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus also reminds us that most of what we worry about is based on our imagination, not real events. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Epictetus. So how do we stop this madness? How do we stop playing the role of amateur fortune teller? How do we stop worrying unnecessarily before things happen? Marcus Aurelius gives us the simple answer in this brief but powerful passage from Meditations. Give yourself a gift, the present moment. Marcus Aurelius. The simple solution to avoid suffering in advance is to live in the present moment. Simple, not easy, but it is critical. We simply must anchor ourselves to the present moment if we wish to lead happy lives. We have to fight for the present moment. We have to be protectors of the present moment. We have to latch onto the present moment with any means available to us. For it's in the present moment where our lives truly unfold. Every moment spent worrying about an imagined future is a moment of happiness forever lost, never to be reclaimed. What a shame. Okay, if you insist on being a fortune teller, at least be an objective one. Here's an exercise I call the Stoic fortune teller that helps me to be more objective about whatever it is I happen to be worrying about. When you find yourself worrying about the future, suffering in advance, get out a pen and paper and do the following. What am I worried about? Write down whatever it is that you are worrying about in detail. What am I afraid will happen? Now write down what you are worried will happen. What's the worst case scenario you are imagining will unfold? Sometimes just writing it down helps you to see how unlikely it is to happen. How will I recover? On the very outside chance that the worst case scenario happens, what will you do to recover from it? What will most likely happen? Now let's get a little objective. Put on your scientist lab coat and look at the situation objectively. What is most likely to happen? At the end of this exercise, you will at least have a more objective view of the circumstance and a plan for handling a negative outcome. That alone will help to alleviate your worry and suffering in advance. Now you can get back to the business of living your life in the now, in the present moment. Our time here is brief, far too brief to waste it on unnecessary suffering. Stop suffering in advance. Start living in the present moment. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.